All right. Welcome, everyone, to the panel for Blacks in Cyber Mentorship Program. Our theme for today is Lifting as We Rise, Harnessing the Power of Our Tribe in Cybersecurity. And we are joined by three awesome panelists. I think we lost one, but she may be back. Shanae Eckert, Angela Clayton, as well as Candace Williams. So I will let you ladies go around and do a brief bio of yourselves. And I look forward to get everything started. I'll start with you, Angela.
Hi, my name is Angela Clayton. I am a senior technical program manager at Microsoft, specializing in software security assurance. I have been a pen tester for, prior to Microsoft, I was a pen tester for about 20 years. And then I came from a background specializing in contracting and with the Navy. And I wasn't in the Navy. I was government civilian. But that was where I started my journey. So, and I'm based in the DMV now.
Yes, DMV. All right, Candace.
All right. Hey guys, I'm Candace Williams. I am in sunny Tampa, Florida. I've been in cyber now for about 20 years. I did serve in the Air Force for 6 years, and I'm in the GRC space within the aerospace and defense industry. So I'm happy to be here, ready for this conversation. So thank you for having me.
And Shanae, recruiter cousin.
Hey y'all, my name is Shanae Urquhart, aka Recruiter Cousin. For those of you who don't know my name, it really is Shanae Urquhart. I am a technical recruiter. I have been a recruiter now for I'm going on 6 years. I started in the higher education space. I then pivoted over into healthcare and then ultimately into tech. And before that, I was in the legal field. So I have a law degree from North Carolina Central University School of Law.
Awesome. I'm so excited to get this started. Jess and I painstakingly thought, and Chad too, I'm not going to forget about him. We tried to think of a theme that would encompass like where we are right now, outside of being super technical, outside of our day jobs. How do we build community, the power of community? So really it's just about lifting each other as we rise, understanding where we all are and how to help our fellow sisters and brothers out, as we move forward and navigate through our careers. So I'm going to get started with you, Angela. And all these questions we all went through, and I promise you, we debated them for hours. But in a field where Black women are constantly underrepresented and competing for limited opportunities, how can we shift from a crab in the barrel mentality to more of a lift as we climb mentality to help support each other's growth?
So I think the biggest thing is when we support one another, the way that we can show up for one another is just honestly just showing up, like saying people's name when they're not in the room, lifting up people who we think that are deserving, but even when they don't deserve it, like pulling them to the side and telling them, hey, like we can work on this and I would love to work on it with you. I used to tell people all the time that my biggest failure point was communication. And they were like, you talk a lot though. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think that sometimes my point comes off the way I wanted to or how I wanted to. So I had people work with me and, like I went to speaking coaches. I went to, like just sessions to empower me to speak better and to communicate clearer. One of the things that I think that we do that we hinder ourselves is everybody's seen it where you go to a Black business and then you go bash the Black business and you don't want to support it anymore because of one little thing that they did that you accept when it's not another person's business. So when we talk about that, that's how we do in corporate America as well. Like women talk about each other instead of like pulling that person to the side and connecting with one another. I think that the biggest thing I've seen in corporate America that women who aren't even in the same spaces, they talk about each other instead of helping one another or just not saying anything at all if you don't have anything nice to say, but as we reach the top, going back and like helping the other person get to the next level where you were. I'm very big on making genuine connections with people. So I don't care what level you are. You could be at the highest level that there is. You could be at the lowest level that there is. And I'm always willing to talk to somebody. I'm always willing to communicate. And I'm not at the highest level, but I'm just always willing to support somebody to get to the next level that they want to be.
I love that. I love that. I love it. It's hard sometimes because you see things are wrong and you want to attack it right then and there, but you're absolutely right. Pulling people to the side makes a huge difference. Candace, what's your perspective of that?
So I would say like it's mentality and mindset. You said something and I'm gonna pull on it. Like it's how you think about it, right? So instead of looking at it as a crab in a barrel, I look at it as a garden, right? When we speak, when we support, when we invest in people, we're planting seeds. So when you plant a seed, you get a whole tree with fruit rather than pulling somebody down. So you cut an apple open, there's 6 seeds. There's more that you get from investing in something and pouring into something than taking out of it or pulling somebody down. That's how I look at things. And so when you have that garden mentality, we're gardening each other, we're supporting each other, right? And then you approach things in that way and you're fulfilled because I love giving and supporting, and then you also help that next person. So it's a seed of garden mentality versus crab in a barrel. You got to look at abundance. There's opportunity out there. When we look at nature, it's abundant, right? So that's the shift, and looking at opportunities. They're going to come to you when you position yourself and you support other people, right? So
absolutely, there's enough for everybody.
there is
More than enough for everybody. So to you, Candace, with the recent layoffs and the high unemployment rates and everything impacting SZA within the federal government and things like that, what strategies can Black women like you and I use to build and leverage our tribe to kind of build those job leads, help with skill building, and just overall resilience during these uncertain times? I know it's hard right now.
I agree. It is. It is. I think you probably hear it. People say it all the time when it comes to like your brand and your influence. But I stand on that with everything I have to be able to create your own platform, attract the opportunities, because you have to tell people what you do and who you are, right? No one's going to necessarily know. So if you have a LinkedIn, you have any sort of, following, even if not, what are you doing? What do you need? How can I help you? How can I support you? And you have to be clear on that and tell other people what you need. And you, again, attract it. You got to talk about it. A lot of people get the certs, they get the degrees, they do all the things, or Shanika, to your point, they've been laid off and they have experience. But then how do you showcase it? Right. And so no one's going to know. You can't be a light under a bowl. You got to put it out there. And so that's how you do it. You in your tribe and or on your own platform, you got to share. You got to tell people. Yep. What is the saying? Closed mouths don't get fed. And if nobody knows where you are and how you're struggling, and you have to do it for yourself too. I need to see you rooting for you and doing it for yourself. Don't just wait for me to save you. No one's going to save us, right? You have to take actions on your own initially, right? What are you doing? How are you moving? What are you saying? So that's my take. And it's hard, right? Because mentally you feel dejected and rejected. This happened to me. What do I do? But again, you are your best advocate. You are your first advocate. I think what speaks for you in a room when you're not there, even more so than someone else, is your brand. It is your influence, right? And when you create that, people talk about you. We talked about recruiter cousin, right? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but your influence precedes you. And you don't even step in them rooms, but it's what you built. It's your brand. And that same thing can happen for other people. So
yeah. Branding is so important. People think it's just professional branding. No, it's personal branding. Like it's how you want to be represented and show up in the world. It's much more than just our jobs. We are more than our jobs. So Shanae, what qualities should we look for in a supportive tribe? I know we've all seen, good tribes, maybe not so good tribes, but ones that genuinely uplift us and empower us. What are some of those qualities that we should look for in building community?
Yeah, I think that's an amazing question. So the first thing I think of when building community and what I look for personally is I look to understand who is better at something than me. And what I mean by that is I am someone who loves to learn. I love to grow. I love to have different ideas. While I'm good at certain things, I know I'm not good at everything. And so I look to understand what women or men are in the room who can teach me something that I don't know, right? Whether it's a new skill or whether it's a new way of thinking or whether just a new way of doing something. I that's one of the first things I look for. The second thing that I look for is who's going to be real with me. So that's one of the hardest things to really try to figure out, like who's actually going to be real with you, who's going to give you the game, who's actually going to take you under your wing, right? So when I'm looking for a tribe, I'm looking for people who've been doing it longer than me and who can tell me, Shanae, this is not how you handle something, or this is how you handle something. Another thing that I look for is who's like-minded. I'm not interested in being in a tribe of people who are I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this, who understand that there is a difference between making mistakes, right, and being held accountable or taking accountability, and also being able to extend grace. So it's also being able to understand and know how to learn, how to grow, how to really be able to think clearly, but also be given a chance to grow. There's a difference, right? Growing and then being given a chance to grow, and then being able to bounce back from any mistake, or and being able to extend grace. So those are just some of the like really soft things that I look for when it comes to a tribe. And then I also look for, who can I be down to earth with? Who can I actually talk to? Who can I be myself around? I think that's for mental health. I'm a mental health advocate. I deal in seasonal depression. Part of my mental health and me working through it is being able to be myself. And if I can't be myself around you, then you can't be a part of my tribe. Mm-hmm. So who's gonna bring light out of me and not necessarily have me focus on things that are negative?
Yes. 2 snaps. Because how you feel after you walk away from that conversation matters.
Yep.
It matters a lot. And it's like a ripple effect. People don't even realize how other people's energy is attached to them. Still with you, Shanae. So how do we focus on balancing between our individual ambitions and our collective advancement to ensure that we're also climbing the ladder, but we can create pathways for the people that are maybe looking up to us, or we see other people that look like us that want to advance as well? How do you make that balance between making sure you're good and making sure everybody else is good?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I do, and it's something that we talked about before we started recording, and that was being able to help people when you don't need help. So one of the things that I find with job seekers is that I think everyone, by the time they found a job, because they've been looking for so long, it's easy to get comfortable because you've been looking for so long. So you're zeroed in and keeping this job because I've been looking for so long, and I may need to catch up on some financial things and all of that, right? But you can't forget the people who need to be pulled forward, right? And so when I landed, before I became a recruiter, I made 2 promises to God. The first thing was I would never forget my first passion, which was motivational speaking and spoken word, and I would never forget what it felt like to be a candidate. So it was important for me to become the recruiter I needed. I was a candidate for 4 years with a law degree. And it's difficult when you're looking for a job when you have a terminal degree like that, PhD, law degree, and MD, because you're overqualified for pretty much almost everything, right? And so by the time I became a recruiter and I learned the tricks of the trade and being able to handhold candidates through certain processes, I started to understand you don't just help people, or you don't just look for help when you actually in desperation need help. It's being able to take the amount of resources and help that you can provide and being able to literally pull your brother or your sister forward. I don't mean to go spiritual, but one of my favorite scriptures is Simon, Satan desires the scepter this week, but I have prayed for you so that your faith won't fail. And when you have returned, come back and strengthen your brother.
Yes.
So for me, it's being able to pull people along and strengthen people in areas where I was once weak. Now that I have overcome and being able to now be strong in those areas, it's now my responsibility and our responsibility to pull people forward.
Absolutely. And people have looked, I don't know if you guys get this, but people have looked at me like I'm crazy for doing stuff for free to make sure people are good. Mm-hmm. But it's like, if it's not in our nature, what are we even here for? Like, what do we even get blessed for? But
I personally think that when you deal with individual versus community, I think individual, we call those gatekeepers, right? And not only are we calling those gatekeepers, but I think when you have to gatekeep, there's a part of you that's insecure.
Absolutely.
The part of you that's insecure says, I have to hold this tight, because if I don't, if I at my core of myself, I probably believe that Candace and Shaniqua and Angela are better at it than recruiter cousins. So I have to hold it because they may take this and run with it better than me. And if I'm honest, if I can be honest about that and share the wealth, all 3 of you could teach me something that I don't know, which can pull all of us forward as a community and not just you.
Yeah. Power in numbers. Absolutely power in numbers. Did you want to add on to that, Candace?
I was going to say, and it's more about relations than transactions, because what you're saying, if I need it, I'm transactional. I'm in your DMs just because I want a job. People do that to me all the time. I got a resume. I want to get in cybersecurity, Candace. I've done this and this and this. It's like, okay, well, hey, How you doing? Right? Like, so you want to cultivate that, and you don't want to feel used, right? We want to feel like we're a part of the community and we're actually valued just for more than our skills. So I just want to add that piece because that's transactions. We want to build relationships.
Yes.
Real relationships are significant, and that's a
Sure
part of the
do.
tribe which you mentioned. And so don't be transactional. We don't like it. We
I
don't
tell
like
people
it.
that all the time. It's more than just I need a job, hook me up. I don't know
Yes.
you to vouch for you. That's number one. And if
Yes.
I do know you to vouch for you, I want you to know, like, in a way that I don't need credit for it. You should speak for yourself. So we can go on for hours about that. But there's so many people who are transactional and need something, and it's a take to give relationship, and that's toxic. Absolutely toxic. Did you have something to add to that as well, Angela? I know that's a
No,
pretty.
I was going to say that I think when people are building genuine relationships, they forget to check on you. They forget to say, "How are you doing?" When you're building that genuine relationship, you call people just to say, "How are you doing?" Like if you know that Shanae, like she just disclosed to however many people on here, you know that she has seasonal depression. Like as the seasons change, like, "Hey friend, you good?" You know what I mean? Like and just checking in on your friends, checking in on because you're building a friendship. You're building a relationship with them. So you're establishing some kind of more than just acquaintanceship. But I get so many people in my inbox and on LinkedIn that say, "Hey, like I applied for this." Now, mind you, we're not connected. I don't know who this person is from Adam. It don't say we have but one or two connections, and those two connections aren't genuine connections. They just people that found me on LinkedIn and added me, right? And they say, "Hey, I applied for this job. Can you refer me?" Like, who are you? Like your LinkedIn is bare bones. Like and I think that people forget that when you're building that genuine relationship, you can't just come in and like you said, it's transactional. You come in and you just want something. But like you're not introducing yourself. You haven't shown me anything of why I should even be interested in you to refer you. And
Right.
I think that we have that misconception there that just because you're Black and you look like me, that I'm supposed to refer you when I don't know you. I can't vouch for you,
And that is why I
What is your
created
brain saying?
in a coffee chat template so people understand how to actually ask for it. Common courtesy is just to say good morning.
Yeah.
And most people don't have common courtesy anymore.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Another snap. Yes. So where am I? Angela, back to you. How can we lean on our tribe to remind ourselves that we're not alone when we're facing stress, or in this case, burnout from constantly responding and replying to people on a regular basis, and within our jobs in cybersecurity? What are some practical ways that you kind of ask for support without feeling like a burden? I know I deal with this all the time.
So I do too. And I think that having a board of directors, now I don't have an official board of directors, and I know most people do, and they're like, how to get a board of directors. And I don't have an official board of directors, but I do have a tribe of people who I can call. Shanae is one of them. Not recruiter cousin, Shanae is one of them. And like I get to talk about like how Angela feels, right? And I get to talk about how, like how this made me feel, because a lot of time in our work, we don't get to say how we feel because we're seen as a threat. We're, like if I tell you how I feel, like I'm an angry Black woman, and so like having that tribe of people who I can really say, hey, like I'm feeling like this today, or and my old manager was like that. I used to be able to come to him and be like, okay, I'm gonna get fired today because this is what happened, And so just having that board of directors where you can actually call these people and talk to them and be real with them about how you're feeling, and like I said, checking in on your friends and checking in on your board of directors, because you may be on somebody's board of directors and you don't know because it's unofficial. So making sure that you have
Can you
that.
explain board of directors just for everyone? I'm not clear on it. I'm sure some of our audience isn't clear on it.
Your board of directors is like a group of support people. They can be within your organization. They can be outside of your organization. And that's pretty much your tribe. So how they say it takes a community to raise a child, or a village to raise a child. It takes a community of people to help you progress and elevate and get to the next level. And so your board of directors, they can be people under you. They can be people over you. And it's a little different than mentors, Paula. But it's along that level. But these are not people who are necessarily saying your name when you're not in the room. These are people that you can just go and vent to.
So you're sounding board.
Yes, your sounding board. Yes. And so they are, these are the people where you can say, hey, like, and just push off every explicitive that you want to, and they won't judge you at the end of the day. So that listen and we don't judge, that panel is your board of directors.
We need to do a work edition of that.
And I think that that's the best thing. And you know, like, and doing some self-care as well, you know, like, so doing self-care is also another thing. So whether that be, you know, I'm an advocate for mental health as well. So I you know, I'm always telling people, my therapist said this, you know, my therapist said, and I don't care who knows I'm in therapy, because guess what? Everybody needs it, you know? So, so yeah, that's, you know, one of the things is also having that therapist, because that therapist is also on my board of directors, because we've been together. He's my longest relationship. You know, we've been together like 3 years now. So
that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, especially when people, I mean, we have to embrace therapy culture at this point, because it should be a part of self-care. It should be just like brushing your teeth. Like, you need someone to hold you accountable that's not related, that can tell you medically, yeah, you're losing it, or you're on the right path. So Shanae, what do you do when it comes to asking for support without feeling like a burden? What are some practical ways that you kind of incorporate stress relief and trying to, you know, combat burnout?
So I don't think about whether I'm going to be a burden, because the people who are in my life don't look at me as a burden.
I love that.
I learned it that way. I learned it as Angela is also one of those people for me. When I needed to vent many times, I'd be like, girl. She'd be like, girl. I'd be like, right. She'd be like, yeah. Like we would literally go back and forth to fully understand just the different walks of corporate life. Where if I say here, if I say something to y'all, you understand where I'm coming from. Where if I said it at work, it was, you are too confident, too strong, and you're difficult. And it got to a point where I was just like, I ain't never heard that about myself, right? And so I had to one, not internalize that. And then two, I had to then say, okay, who are people who look like me, and even people who don't look like me? Because there are many people who didn't look like me that could relate to. So who are people who look like me and don't look like me, who can actually give me a different side of what I'm experiencing? And so I don't think about being a burden. I think about, if you invite me into a conversation, all I'm going to do is do what the invitation asks of me. You've invited me into the conversation. So then I will then find out the hard way, whether people think it's too much, or whether people love what I've given. I don't think about that. One, being a burden and thinking about it gives me anxiety. And then two, I don't surround myself with people who I think I'm a burden around. So they've given me that reassurance that you are not a burden, you are fine. The people who think you're a burden are just not your people.
I like that. I like it. I think it's hard. It's a hard balance. It's hard. Candace, I have a question for you, being that you're, you know, prior military. This is something that I think I dealt with. Having military friends, it's easy to be, you know, that maybe not aggressive or assertive, but raw soldier. I was in the Army, so you airmen are a little bit different.
Yeah.
You have your military personality, your work personality, your home personality. How do you juggle, you know, between all those friend groups who maybe don't see one aspect of you, or, you know, everything that you bring to the table? How do you juggle between those and like navigate those different tribes? Because I know sometimes it's a juggling match.
So I'm trying to think, because it's been a long time since I was in the military. I've been out for like 17 years. So
oh, man, I'm sorry.
It's been no, it's okay. It's okay, because it's still a language. I think it's a way you can talk to and relate to people who you're in the military with. But I don't know that I have to do a whole lot of switching when it comes to my friend base that I built in the military or outside. Because at the core of that person, we're friends because I like something about you and we get along. So it probably shifts depending on who I'm talking to. If they're a friend, then it's gonna be what it is. You either understand what I'm saying if I talk about drill or PT or whatever else or not. So that it wouldn't change for me. But I will say this: the comment you made earlier about your board and when you're a burden, because I thought about this because I'm normally a strong person and normally I don't necessarily share it all. And sometimes when you are the person people go to, you don't necessarily share, right? And so what I've asked my family and friends who are close to me, if I do feel like I'm in a space, right, in a mental space where I'm not that positive or whatever else, I say, please let me know if at any point what I'm sharing is overly negative or if it's something that's gonna bring you down, because I think it's always an energy exchange. I want to have space to be myself, but I also don't want to get into a space in my own world that I'm so negative that I'm taking from you. So there has to be a balance because it's reciprocity in our relationship. So I think about that too. I do consider it when I'm talking to my loved ones. Like, I don't want to mess your whole day up. You ready for this? If you are, I'm going to share. If not, I'll hold off. Because, right, you got to consider where they are too. So I just want to add that little piece.
I love that. All right. So, Shanae, back to you. In moments when we find ourselves alone, what are some healthy stress management techniques or, mindset shifts that can kind of help us stay resilient and focused on our goals? I know we all go through hard times, but what do you do to try to keep yourself balanced?
Y'all see this that prayer wall right there. Right there is my prayer wall. That's exactly what I do. I sit in my prayer wall a lot, in front of my prayer wall a lot. I go to worship music. I go to a sounding board. I love massages, so I'll go get a massage. And my husband, what I love about my husband is he can see it and he pays attention. So if I need a space where I need to just release or just let go, he will pull me away from everything, make me go lay down and actually rub me. Because for me, I need to know that someone is there, right? And so he's really good at reading me. He'll give me my space, but then he'll stop me and go, wait, stop right now. Come here. And he'll literally, there are times when my husband literally has to physically hold me to keep me up because there are days where we just don't have it, right? And so in those days, I allow myself to feel and I allow myself to be vulnerable. The stress part for me, I think stress for all of us is inevitable. I think it's all in how we respond to it. And so for me, the way I'm learning to respond to stress is to, instead of freaking out first, because that would be my normal thing, instead of freaking out first, it would be, okay, Shanae, what did God tell you? I literally go, if God made you a promise, why are you freaking out? What's the point? So I go to that first. And I know it's much easier said than done, but I had gotten to a point where I would freak out so much that I got tired of freaking out because I was stressing my own stuff out and I was making it worse. So I said, okay, I need to change something about how I respond to maintain my peace. What do I normally do to maintain my peace? Shanae, you're a writer. You've written 3 books of poetry. Go write something, or go write in your journal, or go write poetry to keep you leveled. So for me, it's between a sounding board, prayer, poetry, my husband. I also have 2 dogs who are my emotional support animals. So I go downstairs and play with them. And being able to take all of those things, putting those things together, including my family and friends, all of those things together to be able to balance me. I then try to pivot my mind to focus on what brings me joy, not what's stressing me out. So I try to shift it. And so what brings me joy is playing 2K. I love my Xbox. So I go and I play 2K and I start shooting basketballs.
I like it. What about you, Angela? What stress relief techniques or kind of things that you do to shift your mindset to help you stay resilient and focused?
I said my board of directors. So I can say that in COVID, I was a little bit better with relieving my own stress than I am now. I was really good at doing facials. And so I started following Lovey Ajayi for her facial tips. And I, started buying all this skincare stuff to like just give myself a facial, because in COVID I wasn't going anywhere. And I think that it was really fun just doing something different, because Dove was my facial, for all through high school and everything else. So I have now shifted to like, when I need to get my mind off of something, I'll go talk to my daughter. She's 8, but she talks to me, like she's the same age as I am. And so it's always a good laugh when I'm talking to her. So that's one of the ways that I relieve my stress. And I really don't have like many tips for relieving stress, because I lay in my bed a lot, because I need that time by myself. So in the mornings, I start my day looking at my email, checking my emails, and and that's how I kind of like start my day off. So I start my day off really peacefully, looking out the window, admiring God's beauty, because I don't have any window shades. And so I thank God for the fact that I have 3 acres of space where I don't have to have window shades in the back of my house. So I can look out the window while I'm sitting in my bed. And I kind of start my day like that. So I start my day off in peace. And then, and then it'll transition throughout the day. Like if I need more peace, I will go back to my bed and continue to do work. So that's my way, my tip. But I don't have many other ways to relieve stress, because I've been through it. Like Candace said, I am the strong friend. And so like in that space, it's really hard to sometimes talk about how much stress I have. But then I start seeing, if I internalize stress too much, that I have eczema, and I have eczema, stress-induced eczema. And so when I have eczema flare up, it's usually like, okay, I need to let this out in some kind of way. And like, I need to go away. I need to do something, because it'll start on my arms and it'll start coming out all over my chest. And like, and I internalize a lot, because I don't have, I didn't have a sounding board. I'm not going to say I don't, because I really do now, but I didn't have a sounding board when the last time I had a really big flare up.
Did you have something to add, Candace?
Because I'm reading a book, and you saying that totally brought it to mind. It's called The Body Keeps the Score.
I am reading that book right now too. Oh my, I'm listening to it on Audible. I can't read it.
But that's what it is. Trauma, anxiety, all that stuff, like it manifests in your body in some way. So you have to find a way to let it out. You do, whether it's exercise, whether it's like mantras. I think for me, I kind of now sit with my body. I sit with myself and try to feel wherever it's coming from, and try to associate whatever it is. Because sometimes it's linked to some sort of trauma, not to be all dark, but sometimes it is, and you don't know what your response is coming from. And so it's important to sit with yourself too. Sit with yourself, kind of meditate, just think about the thoughts that you're processing. That's what I do. So I get quiet, I meditate. I've done sound baths, right? I've done all kinds of things where I really try to just get in tune with me, because it's something, right, in you looking inward, not just trying to get an outward fix, but what's inside. So just add that piece. But that book is good if you want to pick it up and join the book club we just now have going on, because we're both reading it.
Yes, The Body Keeps Score. So powerful. The first chapter blew me away. Like, oh my. So yes, it's definitely good. So to that same point, Angela, with so many demands on our time, how do you balance between confidently saying no and doing things that you know will help you progress? Like, when is the right time for you to say yes? Because we all want to lay in our beds and relax and get peace. But how do you juggle between, saying no to opportunities and saying yes?
So I work fully remote, and I also fully homeschool my child. And so no has to be a part of my vocabulary now. No is such a powerful word. And sometimes it's not right now, but I look at, number one, what gives me peace, what gives me joy, and then what kind of impact will I have by saying yes. So, and those are the 3 things. Like, if it's not going to give me peace by doing it, I don't want to do it. If I've done something before and it brought negative energy to my life, the answer is no the next time I'm asked. If it's not going to bring, if it's not going to have any kind of impact on anybody, like, Like like we were talking about, like gatekeeping information to me and just having a one-on-one conversation when I know I'm gonna have to have this conversation with 12 other people instead of just doing it at one time and sharing the knowledge and then doing a knowledge share, then the answer is no. And I don't know. I have no problem saying no now. And it's because I can always just blame it on, I gotta homeschool. I can't come because I have to homeschool, or I can't come because I'm tired, and tired is a real thing. That tired is a real excuse. I'm overworked. I'm tired. I'm overstressed. I don't have the capacity for anything else. And so when I feel like that, that's when I know that I have to say no, because if I come, like Candace was saying, bringing that negative energy to somebody else, I can't do that. So I have to say no sometimes. My cousin is here on this live stream, and I try to support him on his live streams, and he live streams every Wednesday. And
Wow.
and sometimes I just go in to say, hey, I leave a like, and then I go to bed, and that's me showing up for you, but I have to dip out as well because I can't stay because I'm tired, And so sometimes it's like that. You just say, show up, wave, and then exit,
Absolutely. Because no is a complete sentence. That's what Jay's mommy said. No is a complete sentence. What about you, Shanae? How do you balance between, yes and no, and understanding when the right time to say each is?
So I don't have a problem saying no in any way. Not one bit. Not narrow a bit have a problem with that. I like to say no now because my favorite thing, to be honest, is I don't have the mental capacity. I don't have the mental space to do that. And my no is my no. And if you try to convince me otherwise, that's when my tone changes, because now I feel like you're trying to manipulate my no. And so I don't have an issue with saying no at all. Doesn't matter who it is. So my mom raised me to speak up for myself and defend myself, even if she felt like she was doing me wrong. So she said, Shanae, just because you're a child doesn't mean you don't have a voice. So if you feel disrespected, tell me. Now, I might have ran with that a little too much. She gave me permission, so I ran with it. But even now, when I say no, if I say no to her, if I'm comfortable with saying no to my mom, everybody that comes after her, I will also get my no. So she also raised me to, my mom used to say, Shanae, do this. Or I would ask her a question and she would answer me. And I would say, well, Mom, why? And she would say, Shanae, you asked me a question. I answered you. You don't have to like my answer. And I ran with that. So now I try not to say it that way. But now because I can't say it that way, because not everybody's going to receive it that way, right? So I will literally say, if someone asks me something and I say no, and they'll go, why? I say, because I just don't want to do that. And there is no explanation that needs to happen further, because my no is my no. When I know how to say yes if my spirit jumps. So if I get excited about something, I know that I can say yes, but I also then discern, is this good or is this God? Two different things. So for me, if it's a God thing, I'm absolutely going to say yes. If it's just good, but I don't have the spiritual permission to do it, I'm not going to do it. And so because I want to make sure that even if it's good, and even if it's in front of me, I could be taking a good opportunity away from somebody where this opportunity is better for them than it is for me. So I discern that too. So I go through a lot of mental prayer and like a hamster wheel, if you will, of trying to decide what's more important. I also, and Angela will tell you this, I say this all the time, I make wise decisions. I don't make emotional decisions. So full transparency, before we got on this call, Angela and I were on the phone. I said, Angela, I need to call you back. She said, why? Because I was upset about something. She said, why? I said, I got an attitude right now. I need to call you back. Because I am very self-aware that I have an attitude right now. I am not going to give you my best because right now I have an attitude. So that was my no to, I can't continue this conversation because right now in this moment, I have an attitude. So I am not going to give you my best. She didn't ask me why. She just said, okay. And she hung up. Now she also knew that she was going to see me here in like 20 minutes after. But the idea behind that is, even going back to the tribe question, my tribe, I should not have to explain that. If I don't have it, if I'm not comfortable in the moment to tell you why, I need you to respect that. And my tribe respects that, because then you're not pulling something out of me that I'm not ready to give in the moment.
Right. That's powerful. It takes a lot of confidence to say no. I think within the last couple of years, I just learned it's okay to say no. Like it takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage. Dang, I forgot what it was.
Well, my cousin put in the chat, he said, being fine or feel saying no is frowned upon because it's thought that you weren't enough in someone else's eyes. So that's my cousin, y'all. I'm thinking that I'm not saying no because I don't feel that that I'm not enough. And like Shanae said, it's not my time. It's not my calling. It's somebody else's calling. For me, I like to share the stage, right? So I've spoken a lot, and I'm over the past few years, and I've only done one talk alone, and it's not because I don't feel comfortable talking alone or I don't feel that I'm enough. But I love sharing the stage. I love giving other people their platform. I love giving other people their time to shine. I know that I'm not all, end all, be all, say is all. So I love hearing other people's opinions and other people's perspectives. I love, not hearing me talk with my Maryland accent. I love sharing the stage with other people, and I love seeing other people shine as well. So I love giving other people the spotlight. And hopefully in return, those people give me the same spotlight. When the opportunity arises, if it's the right fit for me. So, so not because I'm not enough, but it's just because like sometimes I that's not my thing.
I want to just add something real quick, because y'all are both strong, honey. I'm a recovering people pleaser, okay? So when you have that kind of mentality, it's not always easy to say no. And I think it took a long time for me to understand that if I don't say no, I am self-betraying. So that's how I look at it. If I don't say no, I'm betraying myself and what I really want, because I was saying yes to everybody, right? Yeah, I can do it. Yes, it is. Yes to that. I don't want to get somebody upset at me. Like, I don't want them mad. Shanae, I wish I had that mentality. I wish I could be like, nah, we're good. But it took a long time for me to get to that point, probably well into my 30s, to really understand that no is powerful. It's a complete sentence. And I got to do it for me first, right? Take care of me first. What is it? The air mask drops down, put it on yourself first, and then you move on. So just for anybody who's in that space, people pleasing, it's okay. But you don't want to betray yourself in whatever you do. So
let me be very clear. It took me a long time. I'm a recovering people pleaser too, which is why I'm so adamant about my tone when I say no, which is why it's so strong, because I'm so used to being a people pleaser. So my tone is strong because I know I may need improvement in that area. In the areas where I need improvement, my tone needs to be strong. So you understand I am not going back to being a people pleaser. I also didn't learn that until well into my 30s either, because I had to go to therapy to understand that I held on to people for my detriment. Even if it was to my detriment, I will hold on to people. One of my best friends told me one day, she said, Shanae, you'd rather carry around dead people than to be without people.
Oof. And
I was like, oh, like, she tore me up. She tore me up. Shout out to Mel. She tore me up. And I was like, say that again. She was like, Shanae, you are so scared to be by yourself, and you are so scared to tell people no, that you would rather carry around dead weight than to just simply be without people and be free and be liberated and all of those things. Once that goes back to your tribe. She was better at saying no and being more stern about it, so she didn't have to people please. So I surrounded myself with more people who were better at it than I.
That's what you need, right? Oof, that belief she did something you couldn't do, and you pulled it from her. You garnered it from her. She had enough for you to take on. I love it. Oof.
Yes. All right. So to you, Candace, how can we recognize the difference between a temporary setback and a sign that it's time to pivot either within our goals or our career within cybersecurity? When did you know, all right, this is it. It's time to go to the next page?
So I think for me, I look at my overall set of goals and then these little micro moments, right? And so whenever I try and look too macro at what I'm doing, I get lost and I start to feel defeated. Oh, that was a setback. Oh my God, it's the end. But when I look at a situation as this is just an event, this is just one thing that gets me closer to my goal, and I'm flexible and I let it evolve with me as I grow. I think you stop looking at things so detrimentally, right? Because who I am today well, I'm not going to tell my age, who I am today and who I was, 10 years ago, it's not the same person. And so I have to be okay with that evolution and not think, again, it's the end of the road. And even if things do disappoint me, what I do now and I didn't do before is I say, okay, well, what I learned from it, can I do it some different way? Like, okay, well, how else can I shift it and look at it? So I think it's really looking at things as a journey and not this end point. People think success is just to beginning and end. No, right? Success is all over the place. We saw that little spaghetti thing you see where the rows is diverging, right? That's reality. So you have to kind of step back and really understand it's a journey. And I didn't realize it again till late in my 30s. If you're on this live and you are in your 20s, early 30s, understand what we're saying, right? It's a journey.
Yeah.
And you got to just be okay with setbacks and just know, right? I think you said to know when to stop and actually pivot. But again, it's those micro moments. If you're looking at every individual thing as a part of your journey, you're going to shift. You're going to start moving when you make a decision at each point, right? So that's what I would say.
I like that. Well, we have a couple of questions in the audience. If you guys want to start tackling those. All right. So I'm a Black woman that's been in cyber for 20 plus years. I only know 2 Black women. We've all been in this situation who started cyber companies. Do you think Black women in cyber should consider entrepreneurship? Anybody can take this.
Yes.
I'm curious to hear.
I think you should. I do. I know of more than a few women who are entrepreneurs in cybersecurity, successful women. All you're doing is taking your skill set, right? Although you're not an entrepreneur, you're giving your skills to somebody, right? You're selling it to somebody right now. It happens to be a company where you have a consistent paycheck and you don't have to market and sell, but all it is taking your skill set and now doing it for yourself. So I think what scares people is you don't have the predictability of a paycheck, right? So now you have to do that work because it's not easy. So yes, I work a 9 to 5, but I also have Cyber Ally, right? I also, am a baby entrepreneur is what I call it, right? So you have to, there's no HR fairies in the back. Nobody's doing finances for you. No, it's you. So if you're willing to take that on and understand the ups and downs of entrepreneurship while still probably working your 9 to 5, it's definitely possible. It's just a lot of things to learn. Don't just jump out there because being an employee and just deciding to shut the lights off and not be an entrepreneur, you might be, taken aback a bit. So you just transition. But I know several successful Black women who are entrepreneurs in cybersecurity doing their thing.
Absolutely. I follow that same sentiment. I say, go for it. Go for it. Why not invest in yourself? Why not take that chance on yourself? I mean, all of us have our brands, which, that's like being an entrepreneur. It's very similar, having your own, mini company within yourself. I think everybody should take that chance.
So I think I have want to expound upon that, because when people are scared of entrepreneurship and they are focused on the security of a 9 to 5, what happens when that 9 to 5 lays you off? Or what happens when that 9 to 5 decides that you're no longer needed, right? It's the security in a 9 to 5 is not always as secure as people think. So having being an entrepreneur along with having a 9 to 5, I think is a safe option. But at the same time, the same way people don't think that entrepreneurship is, I guess, consistent or is secure, is the same way that people could work anywhere and be laid off. So I think people are afraid to bet on themselves because of, like, am I going to be successful? Plus, like Candace said, do I also want to handle the finances and the marketing and the HR and all of that? So I agree. I also think that I think we need to look at, I think jobs are great, amazing, right? I never take that away. But what happens when there's a reduction in force and it's no longer secure? How do you balance? I have a 9 to 5, but entrepreneurship is too much work, but so is your 9 to 5. So I think we need to see it both sides.
And you said something else, and it made me think of something if I can real quick. So you are your own business, right? Like you are. When we talk about your brand and you marketing, whether it's to get a job or anything else, you're your own business. You're your own, the CEO of your life, right? You are already, if you have that mentality, it's still a shift, but you are your own CEO. So it's
And if I can add something to that too. So I don't have
Absolutely.
my own business. I don't have a LLC, trademark, anything. And let's congratulate Shanae because she got her recruiter cousin trademarked. Um, so but I don't have that, but I do have, the ability to sell myself, right? So I think most jobs, including the job at Microsoft that I have, it was in the matter of how I sold myself, as a contractor for many, many years before coming to Microsoft. I've always had to sell myself for a company. I never looked, I mean, applying for a job is great, but what really got me the job was the ability to say, hey, like, I know that that you have these roles open, but I see you don't have any testers. Like, and I'm a really good tester. Like, these are some of the people that I've already tested for. These are the people who can vouch for me that my testing skills are amazing. And like, this is why you need testing. This is why you can't have your developers testing. And just knowing my worth and coming to the table with that, the ability to sell myself, and that's the only thing I can sell. Because I tell people, I can't sell water to a child on a hot day. Like, like, I am like the worst seller because I'm gonna tell you how I really feel about things. But the ability to think outside the box is what is allowing me to sell myself as a tester, because I can think of all the scenarios that a hacker would think. I can think of all the scenarios that just any person that not the normal things. So I've been able to sell myself in that matter. So if you can sell yourself, you don't have to have an LLC, a trademark or anything. But the ability, like Candace says, you're your own brand. So
Yes. You are your own brand. All right. Do we have any other questions, James, that you want to pop up? All right. Being a small percentage in this field, how do you feel enough being among peers that don't look like you or don't treat you the same? How do you not lose yourself?
let me start.
Ooh,
Hold on.
how do you
Let me
not
start.
lose yourself?
So I do not, and I cannot code switch. I tried for the longest time to be someone else at work, and I fell out with my
Right.
godmother because of the fact that she was like, how do you talk at work? And I was like this. And she was like, absolutely not. And I was like, I do. And she was like, and people can understand you. And I was like, yes. I tried to take away my Maryland accent. I tried to, speak a little bit with more proper diction. Now, my accent is not as strong as it was when I was younger, but my accent is still very strong. And the thing is to not code switch, to be your authentic self. So staying your authentic self is how you don't lose yourself. And like staying true to your values. Like Shanae was saying, she has her prayer wall right behind her. And that's behind her every day when she's working, every day when she's talking to a candidate, every day when she's talking to her friends. That is
Every
right.
day when I'm fussing.
Staying your authentic self is who you are. And that's the only way you cannot lose yourself, is because with my Maryland accent and all, I'm still here talking to y'all, and y'all can understand me, hopefully.
Yes. 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 Shanae or Candace, did you guys want to add into this? I'm even going to add my 2
So
cents.
definitely, I wanted James to put the question back up just because I didn't want to. I want to tackle this question because woo, we all went woo. So I will say, being a small percentage in any field and not having anyone look like you is hard. I want to start there, right? And I want to, for people who feel like it's difficult to look like you and be the only person in the room. I don't care what the most successful person says. It is still difficult. And it's difficult because right now, this feels like a cookout. This feels like sis, bruh. Yes. And we can talk like that. Then you get into other spaces. And once you hear this is, if I say this is dope, which I have said at work many times, this is dope. Oh my gosh. Or if I say young bull, which is, I'm from Jersey. So if I say John or bull or something like that, I would literally have to figure out or explain what I'm saying. So I think it's important that we first recognize that it is difficult to be the only one. I want to start there. I am like Angela. I cannot code switch. It burns my biscuits. It gives me anxiety. I cannot do it. I am literally someone who, take me as I am or have nothing at all, evangelist Mary J. Blige. I literally I am in a place where I can't be anybody else other than myself because I don't know how to be. So my mom and I were talking today, and she was like, "You really are black or white?" I said, "Yeah, I don't have a gray area. I don't understand the gray area." She was like, "Either you here or you not." I said, "Correct. I don't understand the gray area because I don't know how, my mind does not know how to teeter, or I don't know how to go back and forth. That brings me anxiety. This, what I'm doing feels like a gray area to me. And if I have to keep doing this, I am dizzy. So I'm either here, black, or I'm white. I'm gone. I'm whatever, right? So for me, the idea is I don't think about getting comfortable, or I try not to think about how I'm feeling, because how I'm feeling is not going to allow me to deliver the way I need to deliver. I think about the work. I don't think about how I look. And I don't think about it that way because we can say this here. Black women deliver. We do the work. We deliver, right? So I try not to think about how I'm being, or how I am being perceived as being the only person of color or the only woman or both on the team. I'm more so thinking about how I can provide the best candidate and hiring manager experience. And if it just so happened to be the black woman on the team, then cool. So I wanted to start there because I do understand the notion of being the only on any team is uncomfortable. It just is. And it's difficult no matter what high level person says that they are now successful, it is hard. And I think what you do is I heard something when I was at Microsoft. Somebody said something to me that I held on to, and they said, being the only one in cybersecurity is difficult, but I think about, would my grandmother be proud of me with the work that I'm doing? My grandmother, for me, passed away almost 12 years ago. I think back to Betty Hammond, and I think, would Betty Jean be happy and proud of me with the work that I'm doing, regardless of the space that I'm in? If the answer is yes, that's what I think about. Then I went to my mom, then I went to my husband, then I went to my Aunt Portia, then I went to all the people who raised me and who love me now. And I went and I said, in this space, would they be proud of the work that I'm doing? If the answer is yes, cool. And then ultimately, this was not like an order thing, but ultimately I said, is God pleased? If my answer was yes, I'm not thinking about being the only, I'm thinking about who is pleased based on who matters to me.
I love that. Angela, Candace, did you guys want to add in?
That was really good. I would say I know how to code switch. I was in the military. I can do it with the best of them. I'm not gonna hold you, but I will say it's important. So when you get to the point where you feel uncomfortable, and I don't have the question up, but I had a coach tell me one time, as important as it is for you to know that you add value to a company, that you need to know how they add value to you. So when you're looking for positions, you look at culture, you look at who's in the space, go to their page, look at who's on the board, who's in these seats, look at photos of the company, right? To know who you're kind of getting in bed with, and ask questions during your interview to kind of help you understand the culture. Because sometimes that's it too. A culture just ain't for you. A certain company may not be for you. And now you're in a space where you lose yourself because you're in a place where you're maybe not valued and respected. So that's a part of it too. Everything they said is spot on, but you also have to do the work to know where you're investing your time, your energy, your knowledge, your skills, your experience deserves it. And if you do have your career strategy, you know how to play into yours, then whatever that looks like for you, if you're being fed, stay. If not, you might have to, make that decision. How does your career strategy look holistically, not just with the company, and then make those decisions. So
And then that's also where it goes back to saying lift as you climb too. So like, if you're the only one and you look around and no one looks like you, that's when you give back. And I mean, I started a nonprofit organization years ago. I've dissolved it by now, but years ago, trying to get young girls, middle school, high school, interested and knowledgeable about STEM, so that there can be larger numbers of women in STEM. So that's when you go back and you reach back, lift as you climb.
Yep. I think too, it's too tiring to try to flip between two personas. Like people can see authenticity from a mile away. So if I can't be my authentic self, to your point, Candace, that's probably not the culture for me. That's probably not where I need to be as an employee. Of course, it's easier said than done. It's easier at different levels and parts of your career. But I came from Accenture. I came from KPMG, where you had to be a consultant and I had to straighten my hair and wear suits every day and do the whole thing. And once I was out of that world and that culture, I said, they're going to take me however. So if you can't do that and be comfortable in your skin and show up in the world how, you're meant to be, then it's not the place for you. It's too tiring. Double consciousness is a real thing. And it's too draining to have to see things through multiple lenses. So that's my 2 cents. But back to Shanae. So I think this is our last question. I think we're at time and hopefully we can squeeze this in. I'm sure Chad and James will let me know. What role does having a supportive tribe play in helping us decide when to push through challenges and when it's time to walk away? That's kind of like, saying yes and no to a certain extent. But how do you know, should I just muster it up and push through, or is this enough for me?
Whew. I start with that side because that was recent for me, extremely recent, like probably even now. So I will say the last 2 years of me professionally were hard, like extremely difficult. So I'm talking slow because I'm trying not to cry. It was so hard that I had to figure out, like I lost my joy. And it was so difficult that I was consumed by it. And one of the only people who can tell you on here is Angela. It was so hard that I could not understand. You ever have something that's so difficult you just don't know why? Like you just get to a point where you like, what the freak did I do? For me, it was that. And I had to find people who had been through it to talk me through it. And this means being a Black woman, and I'm going to say this, y'all take this however y'all take it, for people who are watching. Being a Black woman in corporate America and standing up for yourself comes at a cost.
Absolutely.
Regardless of where you are, it comes at a cost. You decide whether that is a cost you can afford. For me, what kept me was, I'm very open about it. So when I did this and y'all saw clothes, I'm on a fertility journey. And so those are the onesies that I put up so I can see that come to fruition in my husband not having children. And so I asked myself, if my children say to me one day, if I'm trying to get them to be confident, stand up for themselves, if my children ask me, Mom, when you had a chance to stand up for yourself, why didn't you? Or did you? And I tell them no, why should they listen to me? So the question was, when do you know when to essentially walk away or stay? Mm-hmm. You'll know. I'll just say that it's more of this feeling of no matter what you do and what you say, it's not going to change the minds of the people who think they control your career. No matter what you do, no matter how much you try to adjust or pivot or do anything, if you piss off the wrong people, that's it. You're done, right? So for me, I had to decide, how am I going to react? I'll always go back to, how do I respond to a thing? And I will be fully honest. I don't think any of us in any of our lives respond the most perfect way that we can in every situation. For me, it was, I am not only losing myself, but now I'm depressed. I'm filled with anxiety. And because of this, I am now in therapy. I'm only in therapy to talk about this. So when you add all of those things up, you get to a point where you'll go, it's either this space or me. And I'm going to choose me every single time. Because when I close my door at night, when I am away from the public and it's just me and my husband, I have to look myself in the mirror and love me. So that, for me, that's how you know. It's, you have to know that you know that you know. Going back to confidence and going back to believing in yourself. We talked about entrepreneurship and knowing when to step out and all of that. You have to know, no matter the prestige of a company or a space or a person, you have to know when you're worth more. And you have to know when to bet on yourself. If you don't know your worth, you're going to be trampled over every single time. For me, I know my worth, and I add shipping and handling plus taxes. So there is no one is going to be able to talk me out of what I believe for me and what God has already predestined for me to have. So that is how I know when to go and when to stay. I said a lot. Sorry.
We needed it. We needed that. That was powerful. It's impactful, and it's the truth. It's definitely the truth. Candace or Angela, did you guys want to add to that as well?
Yeah, she dropped the mic.
I love it. I love to hear it. I love to hear it. I mean, that's powerful. That's powerful. James, do we have any other questions before I wrap this up? All right, we have another question. How do I correctly sell myself when applying for a larger role?
So Shanae and I was talking about, we talk a lot. We're real friends. That's that genuine connection. I don't need her, but I may need her in the future. And I can talk about this because I've sold myself to larger roles, right? So for me, when I sell myself for a larger role, like lying is the wrong word, right? But I know my capabilities, right? And I know what I'm good at. I'm good at researching or using this worldwide internet that we have to better my skills. I know the power of YouTube University. And so if a job requires something that I don't have, when I go to sleep at night, I'm usually watching something to better myself because it'll seep into my subconscious, although I might be asleep. Because I wake up knowing a whole bunch of things that I didn't know, and I have all these random facts. We undersell ourselves as Black people for most jobs. Most jobs, Black people will look at the first 2 or 3 things and be like, oh, I can do that. But then like maybe that bullet 4 or 5, they'd be like, I don't know that. So they just want to apply for the role. Me, on the other hand, I'll go and I'll look and see what kind of transferable skills that I have, even in motherhood, that I have to sell myself that I can do those other 2 things, or I'm going to use Copilot, ChatGPT, whatever y'all using for your NLP. And I'm also going to use YouTube University to learn whatever those 2 things are, so that when they call me back for the job, because they will call me back for the job, because you just got to be powerful in that thought. When they call me back for that job, I'm going to know those last 2 bullet points, because I've applied to this job. I've prayed about this job, and I'm going to get this job. And I've been laid off twice. So I've been in the predicament twice where I've had to sell myself. I was working a part-time job as a cleared escort. And that sounds a little weird if you're not in the cleared space, but I was a person with a clearance who escorted trash people around and moving people around, right? And it was just to keep my clearance active and to give me some money in my pocket. And I have gotten my next role by being Angela and staying true as Angela. And one of the guys was like, why are you here? Like, how did you get this job? And I told him how I got the job. And I said, I got laid off from my last job. He asked me what I did. He started just talking to me. I gave him my little 2-minute elevator speech, because you should have that memorized, your 2-minute elevator speech about what you good at, what you can do, what you can't do, what you won't do. Because when you're laid off, even when you're laid off, you have to have a list of what you won't do. Because if you let somebody tell you that they'll give you this, and you know that that's not what you are wanting to get fired, laid off, or you gonna quit. So, but when you are selling yourself, I got my next role from that cleared escort job plus a $40,000 raise on top of what I was making before I got laid off. So although I cried about being laid off, I got depressed about being laid off. I had to call my cousin because I got the blue screen of death the day that I got laid off on my laptop. And I was like, can you fix my laptop for me? Like, I didn't even have a working laptop. So this is how much I prayed about the next job that I got. And I sat there and I got depressed for a couple of weeks. And then it was like, all right, let me get this little part-time job because I got to pay these bills. And, wound up getting a $40,000 raise on top of what I was making previously, got a little bit more job security. And it was, I was happy. I was happy in that role. And I met some people that I still have strong connections with to this day.
Yes. I feel full. I love this. This was like therapy a little bit. So I want y'all to know I appreciate y'all for coming and, spending your time with us and sharing your stories, your wisdom. A lot of stuff I'm going to keep trapped in my head. I appreciate everybody sharing their stories. It's always something behind what you see on LinkedIn and behind the brand. So it's nice to get a peek into that. Any last words before we log off for the audience? Any of you ladies?
So
I appreciate this.
I'll say something I say all the time. This job market is a beast, but so are you. You're a beast too, right? The job market is going to do what it's going to do, but you also need to do what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. So I will say, from someone who is a job seeker, right? My first 3 weeks of unemployment, I talked to 6 different companies. That was only possible because of the network that I built. The network I built was only possible because I helped people when I did not need help. So don't be afraid to pull people along. Once you get your blessing, now then pull people forward and then push them past you. So then when you need your blessing, they can pull you forward and push you past them, and it can keep going. The idea behind being better is also making people better. And remember, like I said, this job market is a tough one. But you're tough too.
Yes.
I got referred to somebody by, how that in LinkedIn will say, you should connect with this person or something like that, because you might have something in common. So someone reached out to me yesterday and they were like, hey, I'm connecting with you because LinkedIn told me that I should be connected with you. And I said, well, I'm an awesome suggestion, So, and I had to appreciate that and sit in that myself. So, I am an awesome suggestion. So, I hopefully I'm an awesome suggestion to somebody else, whoever is reaching out to me next. Yes. So.
And work on your brand, because that's how some people know you. That's how I knew Recruiter Cousin. Her brand, she's authentic. She talks about her story. So why not pass along the good news and the good word for people? If you understand their brand and what they stand for, that should speak volumes. So this is beautiful. Have a good night, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us in the LinkedIn and YouTube world. And we will